Hello everyone, this is Ashley Tucker. Thank you for joining me today. For today's card, I used the Beautiful Flowers 2 stamp set from Simon Says Stamps Stamptember release. I chose to use the largest floral image from this stamp set and to stamp it onto some Canson watercolor paper. Now this stamp is really large and it does not fit in my mini MISTI, so in order to stamp it I needed to use my Fiskars platform. This is a really detailed stamp, so it was a little nerve-wracking stamping this without my MISTI, so I just really pressed down on every area of that stamp to really try to make sure I got it all the first time. I stamped it with my Antique Linen Distress ink because I'm going to be doing some no-line watercoloring. This is a really light colored ink, and Distress ink reactivates with water, so as I paint, a lot of that ink will slowly start to disappear. And any ink that doesn't disappear will really blend into the painting because of that light antique linen color. So the paint that I'm using to do my watercoloring is actually my Arteza Real brush pens. I have a white palette on the side there, and that's actually just a piece of white cardstock that I laminated, and I took my markers and I scribbled onto them, and then I'm picking up that color with my paintbrush and painting with it. So right now on my palette, going from top to bottom, I have the colors Tawny, Bumblebee Yellow, Honey, Sunset Yellow, and Ginger. So these flowers are really detailed. They have a lot of really small areas. So for this whole painting, I used a number 2 watercolor brush. So let me just say, full disclosure, this painting took quite a while, and it was a little difficult at some points because of those really small details. The Antique Linen Distress ink is really good for no-line watercoloring because it is so light, but also because it's so light, it makes it a little bit difficult to see some of those really small details, especially when I'm filming and I can't stick my head right over the painting to see what I'm doing. So I do have the stamp set off to the side, and I used that for reference while I was painting. So I had to speed up the painting process on this card quite a bit. I was pretty sure none of you wanted to sit through an hour and a half of me painting these flowers, because that's about how long it took. Also, I really don't think I'd be able to talk for that long. I was a little worried that I wouldn't be able to do the voiceover for today and I wouldn't have a video to release because my whole family has been sick this past weekend and I've started getting sick, so I was a little worried my voice was going to go, but I think I'm pretty good. I don't think there's anything wrong with my voice right now. If you noticed something different about my voice, it's because I have a cold, but like I said, I actually am pretty good. My family has the worst of it and I'm actually the healthiest right now. My poor little girl she has the worst of it. She woke up last night and she was struggling to breathe because of all of the mucus, and she's only 1, so she doesn't really know what to do when that happens. And it was really sad, and it's really hard to see your kids go through stuff like that. My daughter's actually sleeping in the room with me right now. She's in her Snuggle Bunny because she can't really lay down without the mucus causing her to not be able to breathe. So we wanted her to be able to sleep at an incline. So if you hear any noises in the background, that's because she's watching Tangled and it's her favorite movie. So that's our go-to not feeling good movie. Anyways, let me get back to the painting. So I finished those 2 yellow flowers and now I'm starting the other 2 flowers, and for these 2 I decided to go with some pinks, and they're kind of like in between a pink and a red, a very kind of rosy color. So on my palette, going from top to bottom, I have Flamingo Pink, Currant Red, Rosewood, and Wine Red. While I was doing this second pink flower, I made a little bit of a mistake and I almost threw away this painting, which wouldn't have been very good because I spent a lot of time on this at this point, and I think that that's actually what contributed to the fact that I was so upset over the mistake and I was going to just chuck the whole thing. But I'm glad that in the end I decided to stick with this and finish it and make a card because I really like the way that this card turned out in the end. I don't know if you'll be able to tell the mistake that I made in the video, but when I was doing the middle of this flower, I didn't give one of the petals a long enough time to dry before I did the petal next to it. And so those two petals mixed together and made one big blob, and that made me really upset. But I actually just ended up walking away from the painting for a few hours and then came back and worked on it and tried to make it work. And I did eventually make it work to the point where I really liked it. So it was all okay in the end. Okay, so here's where I walked away for a little while. And then when I came back, I started on the leaves. So you might have noticed that I'm using a slightly different painting technique for these leaves. I'm using my Arteza markers directly on the paper for the leaves, and that's because of the whole situation with the second pink flower. Because of that second flower, I wasn't sure at this point if I was actually going to be using this painting. So I knew that I didn't want to spend another hour painting these leaves and then realize that I didn't even want to use this painting. Coloring with the markers directly on the paper saved me a whole bunch of time, and I think that they turned out really nice. So for the leaves, I used the colors green tea, pea green, and olive green. I started out by coloring in the whole leaf with the lightest color, and then I added the medium shade, and then the dark shade, and then I used my paintbrush with a little bit of water on it to blend it out. Now this is Canson watercolor paper, not Bristol Smooth, and normally when I'm using my Arteza markers directly on paper, I only use Bristol Smooth paper. So the reason that I use Bristol Smooth paper is because it's a lot easier on that paper to do the blending with the water. It's a lot harder to do the blending on the Canson watercolor paper. But with these leaves, when I come in and blend with the paintbrush and it doesn't completely blend away that line work, that's okay because those lines look like the veins of the leaves, so it's actually a good thing that it doesn't completely blend them away. Once the painting was done and this was completely dry, I came in with some Prismacolor pencils to add some details and to try and fix that second flower a little bit. So the color that I used for the details on the pink flowers is PC 931. I tried to use a very light hand when coloring with the pencils, using a very gentle pressure. For the shading on the yellow flowers, I used the color PC 943. And for the leaves, I used PC 947. Next, I decided I wanted to add a background to this painting. I used my Arteza markers again, and I scribbled the colors Dolphin Gray and Elephant Gray onto a palette to paint the background. While I'm painting this background, I want to talk a little bit about my video schedule this week. So I normally do a video every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and at this point I do plan on still doing my Wednesday video. But with my whole family being sick right now, that could change. So if you don't see a video from me on Wednesday, it's because I was just not able to do it. I just wanted to give everybody a heads up on that in case I can't do it, so you're not wondering where the video is on Wednesday. But like I said, at this point in time, I am still planning on doing one. Once that background was nice and dry, I took the color Ash Black and I mixed it up onto my palette. I used my small paintbrush to add some splatters of that to my painting. I cut this painting down to 8 3/4 by 3 1/2, and then I used a whole bunch of foam tape to pop it up onto a card base. The card base that I used is made out of Neenah Desert Storm cardstock, and it is cut to 9 1/4 by 4. I like this size because I can still use a standard business envelope for the card. As you can see, I chose the Thanks stamp from the Beautiful Flowers 2 stamp set, and I heat embossed it in white on a piece of dark gray cardstock, and then I popped it up on my card. To finish up this card, I added some clear sequins with my Gina K Connect glue, and then this card was all done. Thank you for watching today. I hope you really enjoyed this no-line watercoloring card using the Beautiful Flowers 2 stamp set from Simon Says Stamp. All of the supplies that I used for this card can be found in the description down below. If you enjoyed watching today and you have not subscribed to my channel yet, I would encourage you to hit that button so that you can see all of my future videos. I'm going to be back with a new video on Wednesday. Again, thank you for watching. I really appreciate all of you, and I hope you have a good day today.